There is a silent hum beneath the noise of the world, a frequency only certain men can hear. It's the vibration of untapped potential, the quiet roar of a lion observing the chaos from a distance. Others mistake your silence for weakness, your observation for timidity. They have no idea they are standing in the shadow of a power about to be fully claimed. Welcome to the Sigma male community. This is not a place for boys seeking permission, but for men activating their internal command structure. We are here to decode the journey of the self-reliant man, the architect of his own reality. Today we dissect the profound shifts that occur when a man like you stops questioning his own formidable power and finally decides to trust it completely. These are not just changes in habit. They are seismic upheavals in your operational reality, moving you from a man who endures the world to a man who shapes it. 1. Solitude transmuted into strategic sanctuaries. The first and most foundational shift is the reimagining of your solitude. For the uninitiated, being alone is a void, a state of lack or loneliness to be avoided. For the evolving Sigma, it becomes the most critical asset in his arsenal. That quiet space is no longer a mere escape hatch from a loud and demanding world. It transforms into your personal forge, your command center, your strategic sanctuary. This is not the fearful hiding of a hermit, but the deliberate, calculated withdrawal of a grandmaster strategist. Within this self-imposed silence, the chaotic noise of external expectations and societal programming finally dissolves, allowing your own true signal to emerge from the static. It is here, in the crucible of silence, that you conduct the most honest self-audits, stress-test your mental models against your core principles, and ruthlessly refine your life's trajectory until it sharpens to a lethal, singular point of focus. This weaponized isolation is a power generation cycle. You deliberately enter these voids to decompress from the world's friction, allowing your mind to process vast amounts of observed data that others miss in their constant state of distraction. You emerge not weakened or disconnected, but recalibrated, reloaded, and radiating a focused intent that is palpable to everyone you encounter. You learn that the greatest battles are won before they are ever fought, and they are won in the strategic silence where clarity is forged. You don't retreat from the world, you pull back to gain a higher vantage point, making your solitude the very source of your formidable strength and unwavering direction. 2. Independence evolves into resource warfare. The foundational trait of raw self-sufficiency was once a matter of survival, a necessary shield against a world you couldn't fully rely on. But as you learn to trust your power, this simple independence evolves into something far more potent: strategic resource warfare. You awaken to the fact that your most valuable non-renewable assets are your time, your focus, and your vital energy. With this realization, you cease to be a simple grunt grinding away at every task and become a high-level commander of your own life's resources. The mindset shifts from "I can do everything myself" to "what is the absolute highest and best use of my unique capabilities?" This is not a question of laziness but of lethal effectiveness. This evolution demands a ruthless and continuous audit of every demand placed upon you. Does this task truly require your personal touch, your unique edge, your elite focus? If the answer is no, you learn to delegate it, automate it, or discard it entirely without a shred of guilt. This isn't a sign of weakness, it's the ultimate expression of confidence in your own value. You understand that by freeing yourself from low-impact activities, you are conserving your elite energy for the critical battles that only you can win. You stop trying to be the soldier fighting on every front and become the general who marshals his forces with calculated precision, directing them for maximum impact at the decisive point. Your efficiency becomes a form of silent artillery, clearing paths and achieving objectives while others are still bogged down in the mud of mundane tasks. 3. Core values become non-negotiable command lines. There comes a moment when the exhausting internal friction you've lived with for years simply shatters. That constant, low-grade dissonance between what you believe and what you do dissolves, and in its place comes a state of profound alignment. Your core values, once vague ideals, crystallize into non-negotiable command lines hardwired into your operational system. You stop bending, contorting, and compromising your principles for the sake of social harmony, temporary approval, or fleeting material gain. The need for external validation evaporates, replaced by an unshakable internal compass. The sense of relief and power that comes from this alignment is immense. It's the feeling of your life finally locking into its true, coherent form. Once this shift occurs, your decision-making process becomes brutally simple and instantaneous. People, opportunities, requests, and entire life paths are now filtered through this rigid code. If a proposition violates your core command lines, it is rejected, not with anger or dramatic fanfare, but with a cold, quiet, and unshakable finality that requires no explanation. Your life starts to radiate a powerful, magnetic authenticity. This integrity acts as a passive filtration system. It naturally repels the manipulative, the disingenuous, and the misaligned, while attracting the rare few who resonate on your same frequency. This unwavering alignment becomes your bedrock, the unyielding foundation upon which you build a life of genuine substance and power. 4. Emotional architecture replaces fortress walls. The old model of emotional management was to build impenetrable fortress walls around your heart. It was a defensive posture designed to keep pain out, but it also kept authentic connection from ever getting in. The man who trusts his power does not demolish these walls. He re-engineers them into a sophisticated emotional architecture, complete with a gate that operates exclusively on his terms. He moves beyond the fear of being hurt and steps into the mastery of selective vulnerability. He understands that connection is not a weakness, but a strategic asset when cultivated with immense care and discernment. He forges connections of profound depth, but only with the vanishingly few individuals who earn entry through proven loyalty, shared principles, and resonant understanding. This is not a social life. It is the construction of strategic emotional infrastructure. With these chosen few, you learn to express needs and articulate boundaries with diamond-like clarity, using these rare, high-trust bonds as powerful mirrors for self-reflection and as unshakable anchors in the inevitable storms of life. You are not pouring your energy out indiscriminately, you are investing it in a small, fiercely defended portfolio of human connection. And should betrayal occur, the fortress walls do not crumble in dramatic fashion. Instead, the gate simply closes. The connection is severed silently, instantly, and permanently. Your circle is not a source of dilution or distraction. It is a concentrated source of immense, protected strength. 5. Intuition, the silent weapon. For years, formal logic was your primary weapon, the sword you used to dissect problems and carve your path through the world. It was reliable, sharp, and effective. But as you mature in your power, you activate a far more subtle and sophisticated weapon, your intuition. You begin to understand that gut feeling, that quiet hunch, is not random mysticism. It is your subconscious mind's hyper-efficient pattern recognition engine, an advanced cognitive system forged from years of silent observation, processing thousands of data points that your conscious mind has long forgotten. It is firing distilled wisdom directly into your awareness, bypassing the slow, cumbersome process of conscious analysis. The true shift happens when you learn to trust this silent ping, to act on its guidance before logical paralysis can set in. This intuitive radar guides your timing, whispering "move now" when a window of opportunity is about to close. It sniffs out deception in a negotiation, flagging a subtle incongruity with a feeling of danger. It identifies hidden potential in an overlooked idea, signaling "look closer here." This is not about abandoning reason. It is about integrating it with this deeper, faster form of cognitive horsepower. When you fuse your razor-sharp logic with your finely tuned intuition, your decision-making becomes frighteningly fluid, unervingly precise, and consistently anticipatory, allowing you to navigate the world several steps ahead of everyone else. That quiet knowing humming beneath the surface? That's your signal. On this channel, we don't dismiss it as coincidence. We recognize it for what it is, your evolved operational system kicking in. You felt this isolation, this friction between who you are and the world's noise. What you're learning here isn't theory, it's validation. The shifts unfolding? They're your path from enduring to commanding. Notice how few truly grasp this? That's the point. Keep watching. Your next level awaits. 6. Observation ignites into silent command. You have always been the watcher, the man in the corner of the room absorbing every detail, tracking every dynamic, understanding the flow of power while remaining outside of it. This was a defensive skill, a way to gather intelligence and protect yourself. But when you trust your power, this passive observation ignites into active, silent command. You transition from the shadows of the observer to the undeniable presence of the conductor. Your deeply honed observational skills are no longer just for intel gathering. They become the fuel for decisive, often wordless, leadership. You see the gap in the strategy, the critical inefficiency in the process, the unspoken need for a clear direction, and you simply step into that void and act. Your leadership is not announced with trumpets or grand speeches. You do not seek applause or ask for permission to lead. You lead because a necessary action must be taken, and you are the one with the clarity and competence to execute it. Your consistent, principled, and relentlessly effective actions become the new, unspoken standard. People don't follow your words. They begin to align themselves with your operational integrity. They calibrate to your standard of excellence. You command the room not by raising your voice, but by the sheer force of your example. You lead by simply existing authentically at your full, integrated power. 7. Failure recalibrated as intelligence gathering. One of the most profound liberations is the complete recalibration of your relationship with failure. For most of the world, failure is a source of shame, an indictment of their worth, an emotional catastrophe to be avoided at all costs. For the man who trusts his power, setbacks lose their existential sting entirely. They morph from painful endings into invaluable, dispassionate data streams. A failed project, a rejected proposal, a broken strategy, these are no longer personal defeats. They are simply missions that have returned with critical intelligence. You learn to dissect failure with the cold, detached objectivity of a scientist or an intelligence analyst. There is no time spent wallowing in self-pity or blame. The only questions that matter are, what actionable intel did this outcome yield? Where was the fundamental flaw in the initial assumption, the planning, or the execution? What systemic weakness has this event revealed? This vital intelligence is then immediately extracted and fed directly back into your overarching strategy, sharpening your next move and hardening your overall approach. Each failure, therefore, becomes the very fuel that makes you more robust, more adaptable, and more formidable. Your resilience is no longer an emotional trait based on grit. It becomes a strategic process of relentless, real-time adaptation. Energy becomes sacred currency. You finally awaken to a fundamental truth that governs all of existence. Everything is energy. Your focus, your time, your emotional bandwidth, your physical vitality, it is all part of one finite, precious reserve. With this understanding, you declare total and unconditional war on energy vampires. These are not just the obviously negative people. They are also the pointless tasks, the meaningless obligations, the digital distractions, and the internal thought patterns that drain your vital reserves for zero return. You realize that protecting your energy is not a selfish act. It is an absolute operational necessity for maintaining peak performance. The art of the clean, firm, and unapologetic no becomes one of your most used and most valued tools. Your days are no longer a chaotic reaction to external demands. They are a deliberate allocation of sacred currency. You invest your time and focus like a master investor, placing them only in high-yield activities that are deeply aligned with your core mission. You begin to schedule recovery, rest, and solitude not as signs of weakness or luxury, but as essential system maintenance, as critical as refueling a vehicle before a long journey. The result is that your presence begins to carry a different weight. People can feel that your energy is not cheap or easily given away. It is fiercely guarded and deliberately spent, which makes every moment of your attention, every word you speak, and every action you take that much more impactful. 9. Presence forged into unspoken influence. In the past, you may have subconsciously made yourself smaller to fit into rooms, to avoid intimidating others, or to appease fragile egos. You learn to shrink, to deflect, to mute your own natural intensity. The man who trusts his power stops doing this forever. You learn to occupy your full space, physically, mentally, and psychically, with a calm, centered, and unapologetic authority. This is not the loud, performative arrogance of the insecure man trying to prove something. It is the quiet, gravitational pull of a man who is fully integrated with his own power. It is the natural state of a man who is at peace with his own nature and makes no apologies for it. Your silence is no longer perceived as awkward emptiness. It becomes a loaded vessel of thought and observation that makes others uncomfortable in a productive way. They lean in, not because you shout, but because they instinctively feel that something of substance is happening beneath the surface. Your centered, undiluted presence subtly and powerfully shifts the dynamics of any interaction. You influence outcomes not by manipulation or aggressive persuasion, but simply by being fully, authentically, and unapologetically yourself. You become a fixed point, a force of nature that others instinctively begin to calibrate themselves to, often without even realizing why. 10. Detachment becomes strategic clarity. The shift from emotional reactivity to strategic detachment is like gaining a superpower. Where once the chaos, drama, and manipulative games of others would pull you into their vortex, you now witness them from a protected distance. You observe the battlefield of human emotion not as a soldier caught in the crossfire, but as a general on a hilltop, assessing the entire field with icy situational awareness. This detachment is not a cold-hearted lack of empathy. It is the critical space required for flawless strategic thinking. By refusing to let your own emotional state be dictated by external events, you preserve the clarity of your mind. From this elevated vantage point, you see things that the participants in the drama can never see. You recognize hidden motives with startling speed. You anticipate the next moves of others before they have even formulated them. You maintain an unwavering focus on your core objectives while everyone else is distracted by the noise and the fury. This calm at the center of the storm is your ultimate armor, protecting your energy and your focus. More than that, it is your sharpest blade, allowing you to cut through the complexity and make decisions with a precision and effectiveness that seems almost precognitive to those still lost in the fog of emotional reaction. 11. The mission emerges as the sole compass. This is the final and most profound shift, the one that integrates all the others. The relentless, exhausting chase for external validation completely fades into the background noise of a world you no longer belong to. The desire for status symbols, social media applause, promotions for the sake of titles, or the approval of the crowd becomes utterly irrelevant. It all ceases to be a driving force. In its place, a singular, powerful beacon ignites within you, the mission. This is not a job or a career. It is an internally defined purpose, a grand objective or a way of being that resonates at the very core of your soul. It is the work that you feel you were uniquely designed to do. From this point forward, every decision, every action, every alliance, and every allocation of your sacred energy is filtered through one brutally simple and clarifying lens. Does this serve the mission? This intrinsic drive is so powerful that it cuts through all societal noise, all peer pressure, and all superficial goals. Your path becomes singular, focused, and powered by a deep, quiet, unshakable conviction that needs no external cheerleaders or fanfare. You are no longer operating for a paycheck, for praise, or for position. You are operating for the fulfillment of the purpose itself. This is the ultimate expression of trusted power, a man guided not by the winds of the world, but by the unwavering light of his own internal compass. These 11 shifts are not a checklist to be completed. They are a cascade, a domino effect of an awakening. They are the natural, inevitable consequence of a man who stops seeking power from the outside world and finally acknowledges the immense, sovereign power that was within him all along. This is the path of self-mastery, a journey that demands everything from you and yet gives you back your own soul. Here at the Sigma Male community, we don't just talk about these concepts. We are a living archive of this mindset, a resource for the man committed to walking this path. We are here to validate your journey and provide the clarity needed to continue it. Before you do anything else, take a moment of complete silence. Which of these 11 shifts resonates most powerfully with you at this exact moment in your life? That is your current focal point. Name it in the comments below, not for us but as a quiet declaration to yourself. See what other men on this same frequency are writing. You are not an island. You are part of a silent archipelago of strength. If this exploration has provided you with value, if it has served as a mirror reflecting your own evolution, then give this video a like to signal its importance. Share it with the one other man you know who will understand its depth without needing an explanation. And if you have not already done so, subscribe to the channel and, most importantly, activate the notification bell. Our work here is ongoing, and the path forward is one you will not want to walk without the sharpest tools. Stay sovereign. Stay focused. Your power is trusted. Now go live it.